What's good, everyone? Today I'm talking about The Mutilator and The Mutilator 2. I was able to see both of them in the theater at the Gettysburg Creature Feature Weekend. Now, the second one was sort of a world premiere. They were calling it the East Coast premiere. Now, the director was in attendance, and he did do a Q&A, and he said that the cut that was shown at a previous festival, the actual world premiere, was not the final cut. So we were I believe, the first ones to see the final cut. So in my mind, that's the real world premiere. Now, I had never seen the first Mutilator ever before in my life, so getting to see it in the theater for the first time was kind of a cool experience. The audio was not fixed, like, they did not set the audio right to play an older movie in the theater, because most of the score for this movie is sort of like that kind of noise that they used to build up tension, and it gets really loud to the point where it was obliterating my ears, and like it happens over and over, and that was the worst part.
Coming to get you.
That aside, I didn't really like the first Mutilator all that much. It was honestly just boring. Now all the actors do fine. The characters are all likable. They are. Most of the screen time is just meandering around. They're kids hanging out at a beach house, playing games and doing dumb stuff that I don't care about. I'm here for a slasher movie, and the kills just honestly aren't memorable. I remember the fishhook kill, and I remember how the killer dies. I generally don't remember any of the other kills, and I watched it just a few days ago. What I mean is, there was a scene in this movie, for example, where all the kids get drunk and play hide and seek in the dark. They're like, oh, how's this gonna go wrong? They're in the dark, they can't see, and there's a killer on the loose. So obviously, one of them is going to die. And then they start playing their game, they're wandering around through the house in the dark, and then the killer does show up for a second, but they get through the game, and by the end of it, like, nothing happens. Nobody dies, no one even knows there's a killer there. And it's just stuff like that throughout the movie, where it's like, oh, they're gonna do something, how's this gonna go wrong? And it doesn't go wrong, and you're just kind of watching them do stuff, and I don't care. Now, none of the kills were bad, but like I said, they just weren't memorable. So ultimately, I really didn't care for the movie. That's honestly really all I have to say about it. It was just kind of there. The experience was cool, but that's about it. Now, like I said, the director Buddy Cooper was there. He did a Q&A, and I think a lot of people who would have liked to have seen it missed it because it was kind of improvised. It wasn't planned. Something else wasn't going according to schedule. So it was like, hey, he's here. Let's do a Q&A. And they had two of the cast members from Mutilator 2 there. So it was pretty neat to see. And some of his comments kind of prepared me for what I was about to watch. Like how, the Mutilator 2 is sort of a meta movie where the first movie is a movie inside the movie, and some of the characters in it are original cast members of the first movie. And it is kind of strange because the actor who played Big Ed in the first movie was too old to be there, so they got another actor to play another actor playing a character. So it was a little bit strange, but it's a very interesting movie, and you can, despite its faults, you can't really fault the movie because it's made with so much passion. It's just, you can tell this movie was made with love, and he waited like 30 years to just get it right. So it was a very interesting movie to see. It wasn't entirely for me, but I liked it way more than the first one, and it was definitely very interesting. And it was very funny too. It's very much a horror comedy. Now, Mutilator 2 barely has any more plot than the first one. It's sort of a murder mystery more than it is a slasher, at least for the first half, and then it goes full slasher mode. But it's on a film set of the remake of The Mutilator. Like I said, it's a meta movie. And most of the movie takes place at the rap party for the movie. So all of the suspects are there, and this guy named Columbo, they make fun of that. They make this joke where the detective's name is Columbo. It's like, that's not really your name, is it? He's like, yes, it is. So it's kind of funny. But he's like interviewing, different suspects, and it's very much, the main plot feels like a subplot because the main point of the movie is you're just at this party with a bunch of funny characters, just going through this cycle of make some ridiculous joke and then do a little bit of investigation into the plot, and then an absolutely brutal kill. The kills in this movie are incredible. Some of them look a little bit cheap, but that kind of adds to the charm because this whole movie feels cheap. It is cheap, and that's not really a problem. During the Q&A, Buddy Cooper said that he was asked if the gore was like on the same level as the original, more or less. He's like, it's probably on the same as the original. It is way more than the original. There are way more kills, way gorier, way just better. Like I remember most of them. Like I said, the first movie was not did not have very memorable kills. This one, I remember a lot of them. They were gnarly. Even if it sort of looked like, they were tearing apart a mannequin and not as much a real person, it still, had the desired effect of just watching someone be mutilated. And this movie actually mutilates people. The first one had pretty standard kills. This one actually deserves to be called a mutilator. But the whole cast does a great job, especially Carl Grasso. He was the funniest part of this movie by far. It's like this one running joke, but it's a funny running joke. Now the parts with the returning cast playing themselves felt a little bit forced. Like they were going for that sort of Ghostbusters Afterlife nostalgia, and it just feels like really forced, where you're like playing catch up with the actual actors and what I assume they've done in the real life, and it's just like I personally don't have any attachment to that original movie. I don't know these actors, so I don't really care. Maybe it works better for more longtime fans. I don't know. Either way, I still think it was fairly forced and just like heavy handed with the nostalgia bait. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. I don't have super strong opinions on it. It was definitely a cool experience to basically see the world premiere of it in the theater. Now, as for how the plot wraps up, I don't really want to spoil it, but the mystery doesn't really get solved. It just kind of they just kind of figure it out. There's no evidence displayed or anything. They're just like, oh, that guy's the killer. Like they just know now. I guess it was weird, but it doesn't really matter because you're not there for the plot. You're there for the absurd jokes and the violent kills, and it delivers on that. And like I said before, you can't really fault this movie because they just made a fun movie that they wanted to make, and it was made with a lot of passion. I think that's awesome. So I definitely recommend this to any fans of Mutilator. All the people in the crowd loved it because you could tell they were all fans of Mutilator. They all liked the first one. So I definitely recommend this to any longtime fans and just any slasher fans in general. It's worth checking out. But beyond that, this is a very niche movie. If you're not a fan of Mutilator or just watching all slasher movies, then can't really recommend it. It is pretty weird. And I don't know when this movie will be coming out. The director was saying he'd like to get a theatrical release, but he realizes that's not very likely. And my guess is it would come to Shudder in a few months. That just seems like, the most likely logical next step for the movie, I guess. So be on the lookout for it if it sounds interesting. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching.